What's going on, guys? I'm Phil, and today we're going to show you a short video on how to be the third tank in Mythic Orgozoa. Hope you enjoy it. Alright guys, here we go. When the fight first starts out, you've got about 15 solid seconds before the first set of ads drop down. Now, they come down in threes, three at a time, two from the north and one from the south. Before those 15 seconds pop out, you want to get as many stacks of whatever kind of defensive spell you may have up as possible. As a Death Knight, I stack Bone Shield. It increases my haste, and it also gives me runic power. Here you see the first set of mobs that come down. These are the ads. Like I said, there's your two from the north, and then one from the south. The two from the north, I use Death's Caress. That's a utility. It's an ability I haven't used since early Legion, and if you're any kind of Blood Death Knight, you probably don't use it very much either. The debuff that comes from Death's Caress also comes from Blood Boil, so there's not a whole lot of reason for us to be using it. I did break it out for this fight though, and if you're any other class and you have an ability that is a ranged ability to grab aggression on the mobs, I suggest you pull it out and use it in your arsenal too, because you're gonna need it. Once again, you can see as they come out, you've got two from the north, one from the south. I put my dot on the two that come from the north, and I grip the one from the south in. You want to get the ads as close to the boss as you can without buffing them. You'll notice here, in this particular scene, they get buffed. I have to move out, and now they're unbuffed. Now, the way they get buffed is they have to be within 15 yards of the boss itself. If they're within 15 yards of the boss, they get a 50% buff to their damage done and a 50% debuff to their damage taken. So they take 50% less damage from you. Now, when they die, they leave behind a blue pool. It's a swirling pool. You can see it right there. It's going to eventually blow up and cause raid-wide damage unless the off-tank is standing in that debuff. As the third tank, you can soak one if you use an immunity. However, you shouldn't have to. The off tank should soak it. But that also falls on you as the third tank, because you want to make sure they're positioned at least in some sort of stacking fashion when they die. Now, the hard part about this is the ads are going to die around the same time another set of ads is coming down. So here you can see I'm telling my raid that this ad is about to die now, and as soon as it dies, two more drop from the north. Now, you don't want to run out and go grab them. You want to try and use your ranged ability to grab them from afar and bring them into you. As a Death Knight, we capitalize on this because of our single death grip, our AoE death grip, and there's even an essence that you can spec into that will give you 2 death grip cooldowns. I don't recommend using an essence because it's not necessary, but during progression, if you want to try and use it to see how you can capitalize on that, give it a shot. Once again, getting the ads to the same spot over and over and over again is crucial, because your DPS is going to be cleaving off of where the boss is onto the ads position. At 40%, you go into phase 2. You're going to see that pretty soon, but this is just really a wash, a rinse and repeat. You continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. You want to make sure the ads aren't getting buffed, and if a DPS or a off tank or the main tank even pulls aggro on one of these mobs, you want to utilize your taunt as soon as possible to pull the mob back to you. DPS are going to try and crush these ads. They're going to try and inflate their numbers. They're going to try and pad the meters. They're going to do things that are going to make your job a little harder, but it's your priority to make sure that these ads are in your position and you have control over them at all times. As the ceiling's caving in, you want to try and get out of that if you can. However, if there's more things going on at the time that make it to where you should stay where you're at, for instance, Arcing Current, it's not a bad idea to use an immunity and stay there and soak the damage, but I wouldn't recommend it if healings is getting hard and you're low on health itself. So, again, rinse and repeat. You want to grab the 2 from the north, 1 from the south. Here you can see you can get the ads close to the boss if you absolutely have to. It's not recommended, but you don't want to keep them there for more than a second or two. It's crucial. It's huge that they don't stay buffed for more than a second or two. They should never be buffed, but if you absolutely have to have them buffed, no more than a second or two. Here's phase 2, where the boss runs downstairs. Obviously, as the third tank, you're going to keep aggro on the mobs, and you're going to run away from them yourself. I spec'd into the ability that made Death and Decay slow the mobs, but I personally didn't think that it worked to slow them. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I am or I'm not, but If we go back in here again next week and I continue to be the third tank, we've got this on farm pretty much, so we may try and rotate some people out. I don't think I'll continue to use that ability. Our Warlock uses the Death Gate at the bottom of the bridge because you want to get off the bridge as soon as you can. I drop in a Death and Decay where I want those ads to go. We have someone assigned to soak this first set of pulls because tanks are doing other stuff. And you want to try and tank these ads as close to the boss downstairs as you can, once again without getting within that 15-yard range. You also want the ads to die pretty close together. You want them, if one ad dies in a certain spot and then the other ad dies 5 to 10 yards away from it, and the off tank doesn't have enough time to move between those two puddles, it might be on you to soak them. And if the puddle isn't soaked, it's going to wipe your raid. Here again, you have the same scenario. You've got 2 ads come up from the east side, 1 ad comes out from the west side. You want to pick all 3 of them up. You run over, you grab the Hulk, and then there's going to be a Witch and a Myrmidon. You want to try your best to not pull these ads in, because if these ads get buffed, if all 6 of these ads get buffed, and they hit you with the, you don't get enough heals in the right amount of time, you're going to die. And if you die, all these ads are going to switch to the off tank. He's going to take too much damage, and it's a wipe. So you want to get these ads as close as you can without empowering them. You've got more ads that are coming down. The first 3 ads that originally dropped when you reach this position should be dying around the same time that the next set of ads is coming down. So it's, once again, it's another rinse and repeat, but it's a much more elaborate rinse and repeat. You can see here those ads got a little bit too close. Want to make sure they don't get close to where they all get buffed. And then you want to keep them just outside enough that DPS is able to cleave on. The Hulk dies here. The Myrmidon dies here. We continue to DPS the small ads. There's right there is about perfect. Right there where I just was. Here is where you kind of want to be. This is a really great position. And as you can see, these ads are in their low, teens. Some are in their higher 20s. You want to try and get them all down around the same time. And then the ads will just continue to spawn and continue to cycle. But guys, that's really it. That's the whole thing over and over and over again. It took us about 2 to 3 weeks before we got this down. But hey, it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. If you got any questions, leave me a question in the comment. I'll try my best to answer it. Throw me a follow if you like the video. And hey, appreciate your time.